Michael Cohen, former Trump personal attorney, principal of Crisis X and host of the Political Beatdown and Mea Culpa podcasts. His new book is called Revenge: How Donald Trump Weaponized the U.S. Department of Justice Against His Critics. Michael Cohen, thank you as always for being here. I always appreciate you coming on. Good to see you. So let's start with that. The testimony that you gave is about this catch and kill scheme. We know, and we just talked in the previous block about AMI, the company that American media, admitting to the SEC that this catch and kill scheme existed for Karen McDougal, that it existed and that it was designed to help Trump's campaign. And now I just want to play for you some audio of you talking with Donald Trump and Allen Weisselberg about that scheme. Take a look. Listen.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David. I spoke to Allen about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
I'll pay the kid.
No.
So I guess what Joe Tacopino is trying to sort of allege is that that whole scheme was your idea, that you did it on your own, and that Donald Trump had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what else is he supposed to say? You know, one of the biggest problems with somebody like Joe Tacopino when you get around Donald Trump is Donald will let you run with the ball because he knows you're going to fumble it. And he's not going to be there to help you to try to pick it up. He's just going to get rid of you, which is, I mean, how many times have we seen that happen in Trump world before? Tacopino's biggest problem is that he has no knowledge of any of the facts. He's basically comes out onto television and he's getting quite a lot of airtime and he's spewing nonsense. But the nonsense that he's spewing is nonsense that Donald Trump is telling him, this is what I want you to say. So he doesn't really care if you, Joy, believe what he's saying or any of your viewers believe, as long as he's appealing to a party of one. And that party one happens to be individual number one, who we all know is Donald J. Trump.
You know, what's interesting is that, to your point, Donald Trump's attorneys were blindsided by this announcement to the point where Donald Trump was actually praising the grand jury and saying, look, I have no respect for this grand jury. They're not going to indict me at all. And obviously the AG's office was very stealthy about making sure that they had no idea that it was coming, even though he previously predicted he was going to get indicted. Do you think that he was genuinely shocked and really believed that he'd beaten it?
Yeah, because, again, Donald lives in Donald's head. And the fact that you had people like Tacopina and you had people like Bob Costello and you had a whole slew of other pundits on this station as well as other stations telling you that when, for example, Bob Costello went in to testify, all of a sudden, he's now impeached my credibility. Well, obviously, we know that that's not true. In fact, nothing that he said clearly changed anybody's mind. However, they have the same thing with Tacopina. He comes out there and he says, well, after Donald, of course, puts it out there that he's going to get indicted last Tuesday, rakes in another $2.5 million in campaign donations. And then you have guys like Tacopina running around and saying there's more than a 50-50 chance that Alvin Bragg is going to drop this case altogether, that Michael Cohen's testimony has now been basically disparaged to the extent that there is no more case, and more than 50% likely that Alvin Bragg is going to drop the case. They do this because they think that by playing, the media game, that they're appealing to the court of public opinion, that has any bearing on a court of law. And we all know that it doesn't.
Donald Trump is now bragging that he's raised something like $4 million. He's sort of out there with a lot of bravado, as if he's not afraid at all. But we now know that this is going to be a real booking. He's going to get his fingerprints taken. He's going to go through what you had to go through.
Not exactly the same. Not exactly the same. And, well, it's going to be very different. I mean, he is the former president of the United States, and there's a certain deference. I was handcuffed. Don't forget, I went through that processing twice. Second time with the unconstitutional remand. That's, the court over at the 500 Pearl Street decided that it was important not only that I should be handcuffed, but shackled as well. I mean, it's amazing that I could be handcuffed, shackled. I mean, why don't they just put me in an outfit like Hannibal Lecter simply because the president got his pecker pulled by a porn star? And I'm not referring to David Pecker either.
Wow. And so well, that is an excellent point, because I think there is this sense that it used to be your job to help Donald Trump maintain this impunity, right? And he's never really had to face the music really for the things that he's done. But to your point, he was able to use his Justice Department is who prosecuted you. So he's been able to manipulate prosecutors to get his way, and now he can't. You know this man. Do you think he's genuinely afraid? Because, as you said, it won't be the same, but he's still going to face a version of what regular people have to deal with.
Yeah, it goes way beyond scared or way beyond afraid. He's petrified. He could put on whatever fake bravado that he wants, knowing Donald Trump, as we all do, who is not just, forget about the fact he's a germaphobe, and so the fact that he's even going to be in this area is going to sort of make his skin crawl. At the same time, he's now being held accountable. And I think Neil Katyal turned around and said it. It's the first time in his life that the guy is actually being held accountable for his own dirty deeds. And look, our district attorney, Alvin Bragg, dropped a 2,000-pound dirty deed indictment right onto this guy's lap of accountability. And it's not something that he knows how to deal with. And he's really looking for somebody to figure out how to get rid of that, 2,000-pound weight of accountability that's sitting on his legs. And it's just not possible. Now he has to, every time he closes his eyes, he knows that he's 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day closer to having to go into, the 80 Center Street and to be processed.
Donald Trump has a whole cadre of political figures who are really violating the Constitution to try to defend him, making all sorts of threatening noises at the district attorney. But you testified, and I will never forget this testimony, about the fact that Donald Trump would never leave office peacefully, that there would never be a peaceful transfer of power. That did happen. Knowing him again as you do, how concerned should we be, quite frankly, given what happened on January 6th and given the rhetoric that's coming out of his Truth Social pretend Twitter? How concerned should we be about the security of this DA, the security of our country and the courthouse, and really places around the country where there are Trump supporters who might be pretty angry on Tuesday?
Well, Joy, I appreciate what you're saying. The only problem is that everybody seems to leave out that there are a whole slew of witnesses like myself that are going to be testifying against Donald. And what Donald, look, I appreciate the issue that is now confronting the district attorney, but he's got police security around him all the time. There's a whole slew of witnesses that will be brought in. And what Donald Trump is doing is he's using that mob language, that mob code of that speech where he doesn't really say it. But what he's doing is he's sending two messages. The first message is, you witness, you need to be concerned because I have a slew of millions of people that I'm speaking to. And then, of course, the second half of that code goes to those individuals for them to do or think that this is what Donald Trump wants you to do without Donald Trump actually coming out and saying it. And that's part of his superpower.
Yeah. And are you concerned for your safety?
I'm concerned for my safety every day. I'm concerned for my family. I'm concerned for my friends. I'm concerned for this country. Do I think, for example, that any of these Trump acolytes are going to pull another January 6th issue and an insurrection here in New York? Absolutely not. Anybody that's been to New York or knows New York, and I'm a lifelong New Yorker, our NYPD is better than most armies. And I can tell you, they don't play. And you could bet your bottom dollar that they're already fully apprised of all the situations. They have all sorts of contingencies in play. And the first time these guys decide to get stupid, it's not going to end well for them.
We will be watching, and Michael Cohen, always appreciated. Stay safe, and thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate
Michael Cohen,
you.
author of Revenge and the host of the Political Beatdown and Mea Culpa podcast. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.